What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Today we have more comments, and boy are they spicy, but first we gotta crown the dumbass from last week. And last week's dumbass was this dumbass right here. Yes, you, who thinks that our skin proves that the sun doesn't exist, or at least doesn't exist in the state that we know it to exist in? Seriously? You obviously don't know how your body produces like vitamin D or even how you generate a tan. So you need to go back to some basic science courses, like, I don't know, like the remedial courses at a community college or something. I'm just saying, do a little bit more research before you say this kind of stupid shit. If you picked this dumbass last week, then you win 1,000,000 God points. Remember, these God points are worth about as much as Trump's thoughts on how we handle hurricanes. In case you guys don't remember, he wants to nuke them. Speaking of dipshits, apparently somebody thinks I titled a discussion with Nathan Thompson as a debate as a way to drive people away from watching it. Obviously, both the alarmist side of climate change and the denialist side of climate change are dipshits. Also on the topic of climate change, apparently, I'm twisting science to suit my own socialist need to control the world. When science is fake! Oh, somebody blesses me with the Lord's Holy Spirit all over my face. And finally, somebody thinks I have to use liquid courage to have a debate. So, if you're interested in any of these dipshits, then please stay tuned. Before we get to that, though, we have Today I Learned. First up on Today I Learned that individuals who post a lot of selfies are almost uniformly viewed as less likable, less successful, more insecure, and less open to new experiences than individuals who share a greater number of posed photos taken by somebody else, suggests a new study that compared selfies to posies. Well, ring around my posy. I find this to be interesting, linking behavior to, how people perceive you or how people perceive those that exhibit those behaviors. I find that to be very interesting, field to do research in, because I think that there's a lot of connection between our behavior and how that affects people around us and how that really changes the view that people have of you. But it's not necessarily detrimental. I think that sometimes it could be very beneficial. Like, for instance, the way that I present myself here on not only this show, but this channel in general. I feel like that perception is something that I work towards, if you can actually believe that. Next on Today I Learned that in 1970, a gay man discovered a loophole in Minnesota law that has said gay marriage wasn't explicitly illegal, as long as officials allowed it. He then changed his name legally from Jack to Pat Lynn and fooled officials into thinking he was a woman, successfully getting a gay marriage license. Honestly, I find that to be just fucking brilliant. Cheating the system and rubbing it in their faces. I mean, that is just awesome to hear, and I wish that it had happened more, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with two dudes getting married or two women getting married. It really doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter who you marry, just as long as you're marrying somebody that you like. I would love to see less people getting married so quick and then getting divorced in 6 months, or spending 30 years married to somebody that you can't fucking stand. And then finally on Today I Learned that Mario Puzo, the author of the Godfather books, who'd also adapted them to film, had no idea what he was doing, as he had never written a screenplay before. After winning 2 Oscars, he decided to buy a book on screenwriting to learn how. In the first chapter, it said, "Study Godfather 1." I have to say, it's phenomenal to see somebody that just didn't know how to do it, winged it, and then became the industry standard on how to do that thing. Like, that just seems so fucking awesome to me. Because, I mean, it kind of shows that you don't need to do, like, a lot of studying in order to achieve something great. Like, you don't need to go to school in order to know how to do something. You can just naturally do it, wing it, however you think that is best to be done, and then it could potentially be the most correct way to do it. I don't know. That appeals to me so much, and I hope that it would appeal to you too. Ah, yes. One of my favorite times, Out of Context Comics. If you guys know, we love Out of Context Comics here. This is one that I found on Twitter. You guys have been sending me Out of Context Comics, and I've been keeping them. I've been building up a pretty good database of fans sent in Out of Context Comics, which I sometimes do highlight on this show and on the Friday night streams. But this one right here, I found out in the wild, and I just think that it's so fucking awesome. Because, okay, to set it up, you've got two spider people. You got Spider-Man and then the Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy, from a different alternate timeline or alternate universe. And they're both fighting this giant fucking rat. It just seems really weird because on the one hand, you've got Gwen Stacy that looks like she's ass blasting the face of this fucking rat. And then, of course, Spider-Man looks as if he's coming on the rat as like some kind of projectile. Now, in reality, what's happening in this is that Gwen Stacy is just roundhouse kicked or some kind of fucking kicked the rat in the face, and then of course Spider-Man is spraying his spider webbing on him to, I guess, trap him or something like that. But the visual of it just really looks like Stacy has jumped into the air, turned her ass towards the rat, and just massively blown a fart in its face. Like, I'm talking Nagasaki kind of fart, and then Spider-Man's, finishing it up with his projectile cum being flung at the rat as if he's in, like, Silence of the Lambs or something. I don't know, the visual of it's just fucking funny to me. Anyways, we're demonetized now. Uh-oh. You guys know what comes next, right? Shitty ass science! We're gonna answer some science shit really wrong. Oh my god, what's up, heathens? How y'all fucking doing? Y'all need to get right with the Lord, especially with today's shitty ass science. Because we got a fan submitted one, thank you, Martin. He says, shitty ass science, is Jesus related to Mary Poppins or maybe Yondu? Oh man, I have to say, both Mary Poppins and Yondu are awesome fucking people, but they do not compare to the Lord Jesus Christ. Okay, so Jesus is not related to either of them, but he is related to Superman. I mean, come on. It's so painfully obvious that he's related to Superman. He's the son of Elohim, right? He's the first son of that motherfucker, and of course that's the cousin house to, the house of El. This is Elohim, copycat motherfuckers, right? So anyways, Jesus Christ is from Krypton. He's a son of Krypton, and he came to Earth first before Superman, as if to claim the only son of Krypton kind of title. Except he says that he's the only son of God, Elohim, and he's making it out to be like he's some kind of super majestic human, when really he's a Kryptonian that landed here just anonymously, and that's why Mary and Joseph had to make up his fucking birth story. That's why there's two different ones. Nobody knows where he came from because Jesus actually landed here via a spaceship from Krypton. It crash landed. That was the Star of Bethlehem, by the way, if you didn't know. This story actually has a lot of explanatory power for the fucking Gospels, and I'm just now realizing it. Goddamn, I think I'm starting to believe this shit. He landed here via spaceship. Joseph and Mary, they both found him, had to make up some kind of bullshit story. In fact, they made up two different bullshit stories and told all their friends about it. And that's how the two different birth narratives came to be. Obviously, that's why the one birth narrative seems to match up with Moses. They had to think on their feet, so they just pulled some shit out their ass. And then they thought a little bit more about it, and they made up the other story. Okay, so that's how those two things come out. That's also why there are two different lineages for it, because Joseph had to make up some kind of bullshit. shit for it. Of course, that's why you have the two different lineages. One time he forgot a name, the other time he had a complete fucking lineage. Whew. That's also why the motherfucker didn't die on the cross. I mean, he looked like he died, and then he made it appear as if he resurrected from the dead. But that motherfucker just needed to lie down for a little bit. I mean, they were, like, whipping him. If you guys didn't know, the Cat of Nine Tails actually had some Krypton in it. Like, some kryptonite, you know? Not Krypton, that's the fucking planet. Kryptonite. It had some kryptonite in those Cat of Nine Tails when they were beating the fuck out of fucking Jesus, right? He could have busted out of there at any point in time until they started hitting him with them fucking Cat of Nine Tails. So anyways, Jesus Christ rose again, and then he went home because he was like, fuck this place, they whip you with fucking kryptonite, I'm going back fucking home. And he said, fuck y'all, I'm gone. And then he left. Not before telling them to spread around his religion and everything like that. But anyways, that's the story of Jesus. He's the son of Krypton that was before Superman. He went back home and he fucked shit up there because he was tired of their bullshit. That's who destroyed the planet, was fucking Jesus. You're welcome. I hope y'all love this. I'll see you heathens next time. Goodbye, y'all. Oh, what the fuck was that? No, Jesus is not a cousin of Superman. No, Jesus did not come from Krypton. No, none of that is actually how the shit happened. The Gospels were written 40 years after he supposedly died. Paul was writing 20 years right after he supposedly died. And even he doesn't even place Jesus here on Earth. So none of this shit actually makes sense. Also, Krypton was invented when Superman was invented back during like, what was it, like the 20s or 30s or something like that, when the first Detective Comics came out. I mean, holy fuck, none of that made sense. Before we get into today's comments, I do want to say a big thank you to the pure thinkers that are in the crowd. Those would be the Hoosier Atheist and the Random Explorer. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, and thank you guys for supporting all of the content that we put out here. There have been some new globe heads that have signed up too. I want to say a big thank you to Christina Webster, the Clyde 950, and Arduin for becoming globe heads. You guys are awesome, and thank you for supporting all of the work I do here on this channel. Are you guys ready for some comments? I'm ready for some comments. Comments of the day. Prepare to face bump yourself into next week. Alright, so first up in the comments, we have Fade Your Mind saying, did you not title this video as a debate to stop people from watching it? No, originally I wasn't supposed to have Nathan Thompson on. I was supposed to be debunking his little water experiment thing, but he joined me later. So I didn't title it as a debate at the time because we weren't supposed to debate. Plus, it wasn't really a debate, it was more of a discussion. So I guess I could go back and retitle it, but at the same time, I start out talking about it. Most people aren't going to be, watching much past that point. That's why I put out at least one clip at this point about Nathan Thompson and his bullshit. So, the title's still good. It still reflects what my intent was of the stream. So no, I didn't title it so people wouldn't watch it. I just now watched this vid after realizing it was a live debate. Dude, he destroyed you, possibly worse than Red Pill in this debate. Well, dipshits have opinions too. At this point, you must know it's flat, but your pride won't let you admit it. No, I still very much hold to the globe earth idea because that's the prominent idea. That's the idea that we have all the evidence for, and we have literally no evidence to suggest the flat earth is the actual shape of the earth. It appears you're being willfully ignorant at this point, bro. Shared! Oh, thank you so much for sharing this. If you guys haven't shared this particular video yet, why the fuck not? That was an awesome explanation about how Jesus is actually the cousin of Superman. Share this shit right now, yo! Weird fucking Greek name here. Burning fossil fuel is maybe the worst thing to do in order to obtain energy. Oh shit, I don't even know why I'm talking like this at this point. I agree with you. Yes, that's probably the worst way. It does the most damage to the environment, and green energy is our best solution. However, oh fuck, that's why I'm using this voice. Climate change, which happens, is something natural and not due to us. I've never said that climate change is only due to us. What I actually said in the video was that we were adding on top of the carbon that's in the carbon cycle, and that carbon absorbs the heat and the energy from the sun and therefore warms up our Earth. So I never said that we were the primary drivers of climate change because, yes, climate change has always happened. We are worsening the effects and hastening the timeline of the current climate that is changing. Affected by our behavior? Yes, very little, and I agree that this little will sum up to a lot through the years. Meanwhile, we are doing a great lot of damage by other means, such as polluting the sea, mainly creating and enforcing social and environmental policies that are intolerable. So I think both sides are out of reason anyway. Now, the specific EA video and community suck. I'm not sure what the specific EA video, I guess maybe he's talking about the Energy Alliance or whatever, the CEA, what is it? Clear Energy Alliance. I think that maybe that's what he was talking about, but I'm not sure. While we do add a small, like comparatively a small amount of carbon into the carbon cycle, like this person said, the amount of that carbon builds up over time, and we're at a point now where it's getting very important that we restrict our carbon footprint and invest more in green energy. So I appreciate the comment, and leave more there, weird Greek name. T.R. Owens here, and I just gotta say, I think agendas are apparent on both sides and are political. Considering the financial power and governmental power at stake, everything said by the Godless engineer against anti-alarmist deniers is also claimed against the climate alarmists by the deniers. Well, while I can agree that both sides at times can sling shit, I feel like the quote-unquote alarmist side has more scientific evidence for what they are saying than the denial side. The deniers side say that it's happening, but there's nothing we can do about it, when there's considerable scientific evidence through studies and all of that show that we are affecting our climate in serious ways and that we need to start investing in more green energy resources. Data can be manipulated and cherry-picked by both sides, and it is apparent to me that both sides are manipulating data at will. Look into Tony Heller on YouTube. No, I'm not going to look into Tony Heller, although it might be great for a video response. I'm not sure. But to say that both sides manipulate data in this very general way, I think is very disingenuous, because what I presented in the actual video was actual scientific studies, not twisting of the information, just an honest look at the information. Considering like the destructive power of hurricanes and their power dissipation, everything like that, I feel like that's really the only way to determine whether or not hurricanes are getting more powerful. The category system, the Saffir-Simpson category system, doesn't accurately denote like how much power and destructive force a hurricane has. It just measures wind speed. That's it. What the Gee! As a fellow atheist, I can't watch you fuck up so royally and not call you on it. By the way, this is Nardinia Charles, or Nardia Charles. This is Nardia here. Of fucking course the Romans juiced up Christianity to use it as a political control tool. I thought everybody knew that. Okay, maybe they didn't technically invent it, but as an example, although the Wright brothers invented aeroplanes, there's nothing in aviation being compared to Boeing, Grumman, Lockheed, Cessna. Okay, well, while I agree, and I'm glad that you said that the Romans didn't invent Christianity, I would say that the Romans did help it become the more dominant faith, but they did not, like, use it in the way that you're talking about. Is it a control tool? Yes. But I feel like the Romans picking it up, you know, as a primary faith, like control and shit, I really wasn't the primary mover for that. Like, I err on the side of caution when saying that, because the fact is that people can be convinced of a faith and want to use it in nefarious ways, even if they still wholeheartedly believe in it. So, I don't know. I'm very hesitant to say that they primarily used it as a control method, because that insinuates that they didn't believe in the faith. They just used it to control people. The Jewish masses at the time didn't give much of a shit about the new Jesus fad. The Bible would have you believe otherwise. Confirmation propaganda. After a few hundred years, it would have died out if the Romans hadn't boosted it from the beginning. It's all Roman Catholic bullshit, dude. Look up the history of the Bible, the Apocrypha, etc. So, while Christianity did get a heavy boost from being taken up by the Romans and all of that, to promote it as, the number one faith, to say that Christianity needed that to survive, I think is very disingenuous, because Christianity survived, 200 years or so, and it progressively became the most dominant faith to the point where the Romans took it up and then proceeded to spread it across. So, I feel like you're just being very disingenuous with your history here. Dirk here! Should we assure that every time you say carbon, you in fact mean carbon dioxide, or is it exactitude, or is exactitude not important in these debates? Well, I mentioned a lot of different types of carbon in that. Carbon dioxide, I think, was probably the only one that I mentioned by name. But when I say the carbon cycle, I just meant the process in which carbon is moved through our environment, whether that be carbon dioxide or some other means. So the carbon cycle is not just the carbon dioxide cycle, but it's various forms of carbon in general. Also, carbon is the element that absorbs heat and keeps it here in our atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas because of the carbon that is in it. Robert Hicks, what I think is that you are twisting science to support your socialist takeover of the world. I have a socialist agenda now? I don't know. I wouldn't regard myself as a socialist whatsoever. So this entire comment starts off on the bad foot with assuming that I'm a socialist. But also, I don't know where you get socialism from, climate change and talking about how we need to invest in new and renewable energy sources. I don't get how that's a socialist agenda. But sure, buddy, do whatever you gotta do in order to cling on to your preconceived notions about the climate and whether or not it's changing and is detrimental to the human population. My name's Tyler Camp, and I'm just here to say that by far, this is the dumbest channel I have ever fucking seen. Goodbye, motherfucker. I am not gonna stick around here listening to your shenanigans about biblical prophecies and shit. Jesus is coming back. He's gonna be pissed off, and he's gonna forcibly fuck your esophagus. You understand me? If we weren't demonetized, we are now. Thank you for the glowing recommendation. I have to say, I'm gonna put together a channel promo or something like that just has all of these wonderful recommendations for my channel flying across the screen. Barnegat boys here. I just have to say I live on the Jersey Shore where Sandy hit. Since Al Gore started this global warming crap, I watched the water level along the bay. I've lived here since 1963. Toady, the water level is still the same. It hasn't risen at all. What has risen is the population. More! And then, of course, I cut him the fucketh off. He goes on for a little bit longer. If you want to try to find his particular comment, it's on the climate change video that maybe I'll have linked in the description or in the cards or something like that. I don't know. Yes, the sea level has changed on the Jersey Shore. Up till about the year 1800, the Jersey shore sea level rose about 0.6 inches per year due to natural reasons. But then after that point, it started to rise a lot more. In the 20th century alone, the New Jersey sea level has risen about 12 inches. This is faster than any century in the past 4,000 years. So I get that you don't see a change in the sea level, but looking out of your porch to the beach is not going to give you a clear indication of sea level rise. Argumentum ad rem here, and I just have to say I think deniers are just as bad as alarmists. Oh, fuck, another one? I'm a nobody, but I watch and read lots of material. While climate change is real, I have found very little on how much we actually contribute that isn't based on faulty data provided by either side. Okay, well, I'm not sure what studies you're looking at here, but we definitely add a lot of carbon to the atmosphere, and it's building up over time to the point where it's risen 200 parts per million since the industrial era began. As a side note, I really dislike the term consensus when talking science. Even if all scientists in the world agree on something, they might still be wrong and disproved by a single scientist that finds something new. While true, it's not that 97% of scientists agree on this. It's that 97% of the studies done on climate change agree that humans are contributing to the timeline of the climate change, that we're shortening it, like we're increasing the speed of climate change. And that is, in fact, what is bad about climate change and global warming in general. So yes, while consensus can be overturned by new information, and it very well should, the fact is that our current understanding of climate and the weather shows us that the climate change is happening at a faster pace, and it's because of us that it's happening faster, and that is where the danger lies. As Radmingagishna here, when science is fake. Shit, do we have a Nobel laureate here? Where did you put your paper in to show us that this wind science is fake? If wind moves from high pressures to low pressures area, then make your city only high pressure to see if it starts moving to the other cities. Now, I'm not one to fault somebody for misspelling something, especially something basic as moves, because that could just be like a little typo error on your phone there. But you did it twice. Mivs and miving? I don't know what the fuck that is, bro, but maybe you could enlighten us. Also, yes, basic thermodynamics is a principle in science that we have very well tested and proved to be an actual law. This is not something that's like up for debate. Thermodynamics actually works. We the people coming to you. They're not myths. Spelled wrong. I've had experienced the same spiritual event Moses experienced. That's kind of a weird sentence to have right there, I think. The flame was a spiritual flame. I apologize for the ignorance of religion, but understand it's spiritual. Oh, you're talking about the column of flame that Moses saw. Apparently that was supernatural and not a literal, like, column of flames. I gotcha. Still, supernatural flames haven't been actually proven to exist, so it's still bullshit. I can tell you about my experiences if you have the chance. Life after death and spiritual events I can't explain. I've have experience, even some like Moses. Let's talk. Future episode of Godless Engineer. I would love to hear your experiences, so we will probably be doing that talk soon, I guess. I'll be in touch there, bud. Joseph Underwood here, just dropping by to tell you it looks like you're using some liquid courage. Won't help you, buddy. Only make you fat. Well, I drink Bud Light, and that's got very little carbs in it, and I only drink about one beer. The only time that I've drank a significant amount of beer was way prior in my youth and on my honeymoon. Those are the only times I've drank a lot of, well, not even beer way back in the day. I've only drank beer in significant amount, like, on my honeymoon. But back in the day, it would be, like, liquor and shit. You know, stuff that'll get you really fucking sauced. May the Lord, this is 6-5, though. May the Lord bless and open John's spiritual mind and ears and eyes in Christ's name. I pray, amen. Wait a second. So, like, you want it all to be opened, but last time I checked, God doesn't like it when you look at him in the face when you suck his dick. So, I don't know. I think that he wants my eyes closed. Probably because of the Holy Spirit facial that's coming at the end, but most likely it's because he doesn't fucking exist, and it doesn't matter if my spiritual eye is open, because that doesn't exist either. Thank you for your interest in Godless Engineer. Curtis Reynolds here. Actually, the offset and tilting of the mechanical gyroscope doesn't have anything to do with gravity. It has to do with the conservation of angular momentum on the spinning flywheel. It's a function of the flywheel wanting to continue on the plane of its spin. It's resistant to any change, he said chance, in the angle of its angular momentum. Well, actually, I said that the gyroscope was orientated towards the pull of gravity in the examples that they use, right? And that the Coriolis force is the one that actually causes it to shift. Not that gravity causes it to shift. No, it's the Coriolis force, which is produced by the Earth's rotation, that causes it to spin. Now, it probably is because of the conservation of angular momentum, of course, but that's not what I said. Like, the entire thing that you laid out here is not what I actually said, because I labeled the Coriolis force as the thing that causes the shift, not gravity. Comics, etc. here, just wanting to tell you that you're the sort of person everyone wants to avoid, but the fucking internet allows you a platform. Sad times. Oh, well, fuck me. I am so sorry that I even exist in fucking general. Because that seems to be what you're complaining about, is the fact that I even exist. I don't even complain about that with God because I know God doesn't exist. Anyways, those were the dumbasses this week. There's a straw poll down in the description if you want to vote and win you some of those delicious God points. Go down there and vote in the straw poll now. While you're down there, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of dumbass content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice, and I will see you heathens later.